It may not be a completely successful movie adaptation of the revered comic book character, but Danny Cannon's Judge Dredd still delivers the goods, with Sylvester Stallone given a typically muscular rendering of the title character. I'm Stephen Archibald, and welcome to my movie podcast.
When there is crime in society, there is no justice.
As a city, we continue to grow.
73 citizen riots.
Come and get us! Throw down your weapons and prepare to be judged! Judge this!
Court's adjourned.
Hello. I bid you a warm welcome to my podcast. They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Judge Dredd, 1995. As I admitted in my recent review of Pete Travis's Dredd, this 1995 take on the futuristic lawman is the lesser of the two movies, but not by as much as I had once thought. Cannon's movie has so much going for it, which I will come on to shortly. The story set in the megalopolis known as Megacity 1. In the year 2139, crime is dealt with harshly and swiftly by the law enforcers known as judges, Joe Dredd being the most feared judge of them all, which is why Dredd must be dealt with before a deadly scheme to supplant the judges comes into effect. This involves Joe being framed for the murder of a news reporter called Vartis Hammond. Dredd narrowly escapes the death penalty and a trip to a far-off penal colony before returning to a chaotic Megacity 1 to fight with a foe who's very close to home. The disgraced former Judge Rico is raising hell on behalf of the corrupt Judge Griffin, who wants to become Chief Justice at any cost. And Rico just so happens to be Dredd's clone brother. What's so deeply ironic about this film is the fact that its director, Danny Cannon, wanted it to be the type of movie Dredd turned out in 2012. But it was Stallone and the producers who insisted on the acts of violence being toned down considerably before this movie's release, thereby infuriating Cannon, who vowed never to work with A-list stars again. A misguided Sylvester, who had never heard of Judge Dredd before accepting the role, wanted the movie to be an action comedy. One wonders how the film would have been treated with the filmmaker's other major option, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I don't particularly mind Rob Schneider, but his comic antics as Fergie, the hacker who assists Dredd, just feel so out of place here, apart from his spot-on imitation of Stallone at one stage. It's a pity that Joe Pesci turned the role down. It was Danny Cannon's British gangster film, The Young Americans, from 1993, which brought him to the attention of this film's producers. Considering Danny Cannon didn't get to make the bold version of Judge Dredd he wanted, he probably regrets turning down the opportunity to direct Die Hard with a Vengeance instead. Even so, he got to preside over one of the best looking science fiction movies of the 1990s. Aside from some location work in Iceland, Danny got to film Judge Dredd at Shepperton Studios in Surrey and at the Bankside Power Station in London. The beautiful production design was by Nigel Phelps, and the eye-catching costumes were provided by none other than Gianni Versace. The movie's visual effects have aged well, and they were mostly created by the legendary Douglas Trumbull's own company. Even though we get to see Dredd's face for much of the film, when we're really not supposed to, Stallone does a fine job as the macho lawman, and he has a number of classy actors around him. The lovely Diane Lane plays Barbara Hershey, who's in her first year as a judge, tackling the perps alongside Dredd. Diane's film credits include Rumblefish, Streets of Fire, The Cotton Club, and Unfaithful, and she's played Superman's adoptive mother Martha Kent in 4 different movies to date.
You're a legend. You were my finest student.
Dredd, you're under arrest.
What's the charge?
Murder.
The evidence has been falsified!
Guilty as charged.
I am the law! I am the law!
The wonderful Swedish actor Max von Sydow portrayed the thoroughly admirable Chief Justice Fargo. Sydow's one of those actors where my heart lights up whenever they appear on screen. Well, it doesn't light up so much during The Exorcist, but that's another story. Great performers take up the villainous roles too. The leading German actor Jürgen Prochnow plays the slimy Judge Griffin, and Armand Assante is terrific as the vengeful Rico. Incidentally, Stallone and Assante already played siblings in the 1978 movie Paradise Alley. Sure, Armand's performance is over the top, but it's full of life, full of energy. Assante was memorable as a cad who wooed Goldie Hawn in Private Benjamin, and he made for a rather handsome Mike Hammer in the underrated 1982 version of I, the Jury. And the beautiful Joan Chen, best known for appearing in Bernardo Bertolucci's The Last Emperor and the cult TV series Twin Peaks, portrays Isla Hayden, an unscrupulous doctor who aids Rico. The rousing, thunderous music score was composed by Alan Silvestri, a man who has often collaborated with Robert Zemeckis. I heartily recommend the Judge Dredd soundtrack. It's compiled of 7 tracks by Silvestri, as well as by a number of songs from popular artists, such as The Cure, Cocteau Twins, and Left Field. Having schooled the young Americans for Danny Cannon, David Arnold was originally meant to do the music for this picture. David may well have felt disappointment for losing out on Judge Dredd, but it was only 2 years later when he would compose his first of 4 soundtracks for the James Bond franchise. This movie has many striking images. Apart from the aerial shots of Mega City 1, I love the sequence in which the judges ride out together on their Lawmaster motorbikes. It looks so cool. And unlike in Dredd, we get to see a lawmaker fly in this film. Cannon's version is also the only one which features a combat robot, an ABC warrior, which is also lifted from the comic book. Judge Dredd's busy screenplay was written by Michael DeLuca and William Wisher Jr. DeLuca had previously penned Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. This film was shot between August and November 1994 and went on general release in the States on the 30th of June 1995, only making $113.5 million from a budget of around $90 million. As much as anything else, Judge Dredd is meant to be a savage satire on a fascist police state. It's a crying shame that this movie wasn't allowed to go darker or harder. But then we have the glorious 2012 version for that. I'm Stephen Archibald, and thanks so much for listening to my podcast, They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. All of my episodes are available from most podcast platforms, and you can follow me if you like. Stay safe, try to remain within the confines of the law, and goodbye for now.
The sentence shall be life imprisonment.
I'm the chaos. Dredd? Very crushing power.
Excuse me? We're not together.
It's not for this council to play God.
Who says politics is boring?